Hi, and welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Albers. We have Jill Dahler with us today. I'm excited about this conversation. But first, let's set an intention, and then Jill and I will drop in, and you never know where we're going to go. I feel like I say that every time, but like this time, you really just never know where we're going to go. So, my intention today, as I sit here, and the minute I say my intention, it's like I feel the grounding start to happen. It's like I feel my roots grow into the earth, and I feel my connection to divine. And I get into this space in my heart. And I think my intention for today feels like it is a joyful heart. I want to come
Mm.
at this with a joyful heart. Things have been kind of stressful and heavy lately, if I'm being honest. And that feeling that I just got, that sensation, that visceral thing in my body that just happened when I said my intention for today is, I was like, oh, it's this state right here, right now. So drop in and join me with that one or set your own. But that is my intention for today. Good morning or good afternoon, Jill. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You're
I'm
welcome.
thanks. Thanks for having me. I am saying how much I love the intention. I definitely need it myself today. So thank you.
Yeah. I feel like we'll be able to amplify this together. That feels like truth to me.
I think so. I think so. I feel like whenever you and I are in the room together, that's usually what happens. There's a
Yeah.
level of elevation that is just like, huh, what just happened there? And it's just like, okay. Like I feel like for me anyways, I don't know if you feel this way, but whenever I'm in a room with you, I feel elevated and lifted just in your presence. So that's spectacular. So thank you for having me on your show.
I do feel that same way. So thank you for being here. So let's I feel like I want to at least give a clue as to how we know each other.
Yeah.
Um do you want to tell that story or do you want me to tell it? I feel like we both might tell this story.
I think we should tell each other your version. I'll tell my version.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You
You
go
start.
ahead.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know.
So how we know each other is I live in a neighboring city to where your studio is, and I was looking to have a Reiki session done, and I happened upon your studio. And ever since I've had the privilege of having body work done by you through Reiki, I've just been on this journey of I need all things Michelle Elbers in my life. So then I took on my own Reiki training through with you and went through level 3. And so I feel like we've also have been as of late, I'm also renting out your space to teach yoga. So we continue to intertwine and weave our lives together ever since my Reiki session. So that's my story.
That's beautiful. I love that. So it's interesting because it's similar. Well, I'll just say it. So I remember meeting you in the Reiki session, and I remember discovering that you too were a small business owner, yoga studio. At that time, I was doing more yoga in my studio. I wasn't teaching it, but I had more yoga in my studio. And I remember thinking, someone who gets it because your energy felt great, right? Like I'm an energy
Yeah.
person. Obviously, I'm doing Reiki and things. And your energy felt great. You were a grounded human. The work we did together was amazing. And then as we explore further and deepen into sort of how we're showing up both individually and together, for me, it was like this refreshing breath of fresh air that like I have someone that I can have a conversation who will understand on a level that just if you're not living it, you can't have that same kind of conversation. I just remember thinking, oh, she's so beautiful and amazing. This is so cool.
Oh, well, thank you. That's awesome. See, this is not the story that I was telling myself. So thank you very much.
Wait, what story were you telling yourself?
Well, no, it's just we both had this is what I always think is fascinating, right? Like there's us two humans that have the same physical interaction, but then we have each of us walk away with our own experience of that interaction and our
Mhm.
own thoughts and beliefs and how we experience that. And so I think that that's what is really exciting because for me, like I don't sometimes consider myself to be this very grounded person and blah 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 and it's just like, "Oh, well, thank you. Like I needed to hear that because sometimes we forget about how we show up in the world and how
Mm.
people perceive us versus how we might think of ourselves. And so that's what I enjoyed about your story is just like, oh, well, thank you. Like I am a grounded person, but there are certain times when I forget that. And, you just kind of beat yourself up for that and blah, 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 blah. And so to be reminded is always lovely. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that's such an important, like this might be the conversation today where we land. How you show up in the world and how you think you're perceived and your intention of how you show up in the world and how you're perceived. Like if you don't ask or have conversations like this, like you don't even necessarily have to ask, but if you don't have conversations like this, you don't know what other people think about you, of you. And
Right.
I say that carefully and cautiously, right? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like I was a person who used to hang on what people thought about me and it mattered really way more than it should have. And I'm not saying I don't care, but like I'm me and I'm confident and comfortable in that now. But when I wasn't, I really tried to show up in a way that made I was trying to gather approval from
Mm-hmm.
others versus like I'm me and you get to witness me. And then if you choose to lean in, great. And if you don't, that's okay. Cause we're not like we don't click necessarily, right? Or we don't vibe, or like we're
Right.
not meant to be spending more time and energy and effort with each other now, yet, maybe never, maybe soon, maybe, maybe it's already been come and gone. But that's a really great point about if you're feeling unsettled or unsure of how you're showing up in the world, find someone to connect with and have a
Yeah.
conversation. Like, what are three qualities about me? It doesn't have to be like this, but like,
Sure.
tell me how you felt when we met, or tell me what it is about me that draws you to me. Why do we keep talking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those kind of questions.
Right. And I think you answered part of it was that there felt like for me, I'm very intuitive of the spaces that I walk into. Like I feel the energy of people and I gravitate towards people that I feel like I'm safe with,
Mhm.
that I can trust, and that are going to get me. And you can instantly figure out if you're not my people because I'm probably going to have that, the resting bitch face because it's just like, no, like you're not for me. Like I already know there's something that's rubbing here and it's okay. Like we don't need to be friends. We don't need to talk. We don't need to hate each other, but it's okay that we're in this room together. And so I think when I first met you, it was an instant settling in of, oh, yeah, she's a person that I can really trust in my energy with. I can trust my spirits with. I can trust my whole self and be vulnerable with. And that is not how I can typically walk through the world of being able to be open and vulnerable with just anybody. Like it takes a long time for people to get in through my walls. And even the people that have been in my life for a long time, just a really quick segue, a friend of mine who I've known since 7th grade reached out to me 2 weeks ago, and she's going through her own journey of just like deeper awareness and insight. And she's reading this book called The Origin of You. And she's just kind of getting to her story. And she's just like, I'm reading this book and I'm thinking about you the entire time. And you're one of, a few people that I've known for as long as we've known, but I don't feel like I really know you. Like I feel like there's still a bit of a disconnection. And I sent her a message back because she was driving to Florida, and I sent her an audio message back and I go, well, I will just say that you are not the only person that has ever said this to me. And a friend of mine who I've known since I've been 5 probably has the same feelings that you do as well, is because I'm very guarded. And it's not like I like to keep things a mystery. It's just that I'm guarded with things. And when I met you, and the reason that I think that you and I continue to stay in each other's lives is because you allow me to be myself in a way that I don't have to feel like I'm being judged or I have to gain approval or I have to be somebody else for you to like me.
Mm. Yeah, see, I love this conversation because I'm reflecting back now, to be clear, like as a practitioner, as a Reiki practitioner, I don't remember sessions. It doesn't like stay with me. It's like it comes in, we're in the moment, we're present, and then it leaves other than any notes we take or you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But sometimes when it's a very first session, like I feel that block, I feel that push, I feel that energetic like safety protection mechanism loudly with
Mm-hmm.
many. And I think that's a good thing, right? That we protect
Mm-hmm.
ourselves in that way. I do it. I go every new session. If I've been with a new practitioner, there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to be really protected until I decide
Sure,
whether or not they're
sure.
a trusted person or not. Um, but I never felt that with you. I never felt a block or a thing. So it's interesting to hear you say, but I think maybe we had enough of a conversation before we started that we were both just like, and I think that's the other reason why for me, you felt like a connection that was supposed to happen outside of the Reiki session
Agreed.
because you also felt safe. And that's not something that also don't just, I don't walk around like, oh yeah, I trust the world, and I'm not
Right.
saying I'm like super guarded or protected. I used to be, but I am saying I'm mindful
Mm-hmm.
of what that might look like.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I also, one thing that came up while you were talking about that is soul connections. Like I
Mhm.
fully, wholeheartedly believe in soul connections, that people are meant to be in our lives for whatever reasons. And I feel like that is something that you and I might have.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even say might anymore. When it happens like
Same.
that and that quickly, I'm just like, oh yeah, you're just we've done this before.
Exactly. We've been on
Maybe
this
not in this
journey.
exact way, but like we've been together before on our journey. And it's you're a safe soul connection. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's absolutely a thing. So tell me about your journey since that day. Like since
Ooh.
I mean, and we ebb and flow as to how much we communicate too. I know
Uh-huh.
I'm fully aware and like accepting that and honoring it right here, right now. We're not people who talk every single day. We don't like, hang out all the time. But when we
Mm-hmm.
do connect, I feel like we connect at that soul level, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
delightful. And like you said, it's amplifying that good, that like joyful, positive, freeing energy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say my journey since then, and I don't even know how long it's been. Three,
Gosh.
four. I don't.
Well,
I,
I've only been in osteo for 5 years, so it's within the last
so
5 years.
last
So
5 years.
it feels like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I came to you prior to closing my studio. It did not survive past COVID. And so I think ever since then, I've continued on what I'm calling my spiritual journey of getting towards my being able to fully live in my truest self and being able to freely express that in a way that I can show up with intention all the time of you get me, and this is what you get. And so I feel like I'm still in the thick of that. I've
Mm.
done various things. I've done some shamanic experiences, I've done some plant medicine, I've continued with my own personal Reiki. I also provide Reiki for people. I'm fully into doing oracle card readings and tarot readings, and I took that class with you as well. So very deep into that spiritual healing energy work, and working towards embodying that in my everyday life.
And that's a messy journey.
Oh
Like
my God.
I'm like hats off to the people who do it. 'Cause mine has been, continues to be,
Yeah.
I believe healing is messy, but
Yeah.
in a beautiful way. Like
Yeah.
it takes you somewhere. And that's why previous to healing, I was just stuck in that messy all the time and it was horrible. I was not
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm still not okay, but it's temporary and it didn't used to feel
Right.
temporary. So I love that you're choosing this journey. I love that you're digging in. And
Yeah.
people listening can't see your face, but when you were talking about the journey, it was like there were moments where I was like, oh, it got messy and it's
I'm probably in the messy right now, but here's what I
uh,
noticed. The thing that you said to me right away, and you're just like, let's set the intention. I'm like, "Ugh, I have not been setting my intentions as of late. Like, as soon as I'm in the thick of the messy and I feel lost in the woods, I realize I have stopped doing the things that allow me to get through the messy and that allow me to stay grounded and clear in who I am. So I haven't been setting my intentions and I haven't been journaling. Like I am usually very much a morning pages person. Like I'm writing and I'm journaling and getting stuff out of my head every single morning. I have not been doing that. And so I think that's been a part of, you know, my messiness. And I was actually just journaling before we got on the call.
The minute you said, when I feel lost in the woods and I haven't been setting my intentions, those goosebumps pinged up for me. I'm like, girl, you're answering your soul right now. Like your guides are like,
Yeah.
yep, yep, that's it. It's one little missing piece, but it makes a huge difference. And like they're like, we miss your intentions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so that's been part of the messiness is forgetting my tools and not, or I shouldn't say forgetting my tools, not using my tools.
Yeah, I think when we're messy, that's such an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have the capacity, like we're not thinking clearly. You know, when you're really
Hmm.
messy, it's not like you're like, oh, what would help me right now? It's like you're like, no, no, you need somebody to ask you that or to give it to
Right.
you or to just be like, hey, where's that's why I talk about self-care toolkits or soul care toolkits all the time. It's like
Yeah.
find a corner of your desk or a box and create something that when you're in a funk, it just calls to you and you can open it up. And here's the thing, if I'm really in a funk, I can open up my self-care toolkit and I can look at every single one of those things and go, nope, 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 nope. I don't want to do any of it because I'm just meh, you know?
Right.
But at least the moment I shift just one notch above that space, I can look in there and find something that will bring me joy or at least a reprieve from the weight of the stress. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the reminder that like when we're messy, we don't always know what to do. And we certainly don't put it at the forefront to take our tools and use them.
Yeah. Yeah. I go back to the familiar and what's comfortable, which is, well, let's just go completely mindless and sit in front of the television and watch anything that I could possibly find.
Yeah,
The,
which is just full blown avoidance.
well, of course. Duh,
Yeah,
that's familiar.
yeah, exactly. Oh, those familiar things. And it's so hard to shift out of those too. You
Hmm.
know, especially so I posted a while ago. I don't know if you saw it. I posted a video. I was recording a class and I took a break to look for something and saw a text coming on my phone that was about my dog who had recently passed and I lost it and it was recording and I thought, well, apparently I'm supposed to record this and I posted a little snippet and someone commented on it and said it's so much easier to distract yourself from this stuff. And I was like, well, it's easier in that moment, but it's not easier in the long term. You stuff that stuff, it comes up some point and
Right.
that's it. It's like, but breaking out of that habit of the distraction or the avoidance or the numbing
Hmm.
out or whatever it is, that's so hard to break. And that's why I think like when people like you come into my world, I'm just like grateful because I know you're someone where if I really am in a funk, I can like, hey, Jill, I can't think for myself right now. I
Right.
need some help. What you
Yes.
got? What's your intuition telling you? Because I know you have intuition and I resonate with people that have good intuition.
Yeah.
So like give it to me. What you got? Where are your goosebumps coming from? Whatever your like my language is goosebumps. I don't know what your intuitive
Sure.
language is, but
Yeah. No, I so appreciate that because I think that that's the other thing that I forget too is just like, okay, I do have a support system. You just need to tap into it. Like you said,
yeah.
it's not like we talk all the time, but it is good, nice to know that, hey, this is an option for me. Like I can
Mhm.
reach out and just be like, hey, Michelle, head's a little underwater. Can you throw me a
Yeah.
lifeline? What do you got for me today?
Yeah. Yeah, lost in the woods today, roaming around aimlessly, don't know where I'm going. And there's a lot of mosquitoes out here.
Oh God.
Oh
Yes.
man. That's always the case
Okay.
in Minnesota. I mean, unless it's winter and then it's a different thing. But
Yeah, that's totally different.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, like as we're talking about this, like leaning into each other thing, I think the other thing that I'm going to add another intention for myself today that I want to reflect on and ponder, and that is I feel like I got to be careful about how I say this. I was about to shame myself, right? I was about to do that I
Mhm.
need to thing. I would like to be more mindful about checking in with my people,
Mm,
because, well, and I do that when I get pings. Like sometimes I get intuitive pings where I just can't stop thinking about someone. I'm like, I need to reach out. And then I do. And then something has happened, right?
sure.
They need support for something. But I want to do that when I'm not getting pinged, 24/7. Like literally, I
Sure.
mean, the pings don't stop when they come in for me. It's like, okay, I got to contact this person, something's up.
Yeah.
But why do I have to wait until I'm getting pinged? Why can't I just be like, hey, I haven't talked to Jill in a while. Maybe I should check in and see how she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's been on my mind too, is nurturing. relationships.
Hmm.
Have you heard of Lala Delia?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so she has a book called Vibrate Higher Daily,
Mm.
and I follow her on Instagram as well, and it's really great. And so a friend of mine who is also an intuitive, she was got a ping. She's like, "Hey, I was walking past my bookshelf, and I all of a sudden got a, hey, you should send this book to Jill." And so she sent me this book, and it's fantastic. First of all, and it talks a lot about what you and I have been talking about is surrounding yourself with those people
Mm.
that support you and that can speak your same language, right? And let's like, how can you create that community for yourself? And then to your next point was, how do you continue to nurture that? Because you always want to stay in these high vibrations. And like you said, like, these are the people that want to hear from you. They're in your life for a reason. So how can we nurture our relationships rather than, go 25 years and have a friend be like, "Hey, I don't feel like I really know you at all."
But what a cool, I mean, outside of how you just said
Right,
that,
right.
but what a cool text that is to get because they were brave enough to reach out after
Yes.
25 years and go, "Hey, lady,
Yeah.
I really want to get to know you again or ever,
Yeah.
for the first time,
Right.
right? That's
Right.
so cool."
Well, and we're still in each other's lives. This is the crazy thing, Michelle. We are still in each other's lives. Her husband is also, have known her husband since I've been 5, and him and my husband talk all the time. And me and her, like, we talk when we see each other. If they live in Georgia, we go to Georgia 2 times a year. And so they come home and they hang out with us. So it's not like we're not hanging out or talking, but we just don't have that deeper connection that she's craving, as well as
Mhm.
myself. Like, I would rather have better relationships with my friends versus surface relationships as well. So, like, to your point,
Yeah.
like, nurturing and being able to be, for me, it's being able to be vulnerable.
Mm. Well, and I think that's beautiful because that feels like a two-way street. I think sometimes, like, I seek the deep dive
Mm-hmm.
conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I love deep dive conversations. If somebody's not, I don't know. This is just coming out. I don't know that I'm not thinking about how I'm wording it very well, so it might come out as a little like crass or whatever. But like, if someone is keeping everything at the surface level, it's really hard for me to trust them.
Sure.
There is something about that where I'm just like, why are you so guarded? What is it about? Like, is it me? Is it you? Is it us? Like, you're guarded for a reason. I'm picking up on that energy
Yeah.
as somebody who picks up on energy. Now I'm feeling like I need to be guarded and safe when I wasn't feeling that way at first. And here's the thing, it's like what I do, I meet people where they're at all the time. And I have
Mm-hmm.
no problem meeting somebody at the surface and staying there for a very, very, very long time. But like outside of work, when
Yeah.
I'm connecting with people that I'm looking to build friendships or,
Mm-hmm.
relationships with, for me, if it stays at the surface level for too long, that's hard for me because I
Yeah.
start to question things. I don't know. That's something to ponder for me because I don't really know. I don't have a why for that other
Sure.
than I don't really want to like get naked in a room and be the only one standing there. You know what I
Right.
mean? Well, I don't want to get naked in a room, period. I'm just saying. But that was a good, that was a metaphor.
It's a beautiful metaphor. I get behind it. And I think you're right. And I think it goes to, what I was saying earlier about how I, felt with you, right? Because I have people in my life that do not know how to get below the surface. And those are people that have been in my life for many years, but they stay at a distance because we're never going to be able to go deep. And quite honestly, like, I'm not interested in much then. Like, for me, then it's just like, okay, you're not going to get naked. I'm not getting naked. I'm not going to show
Yeah.
you what I all got, right? Like, this is because where's the benefit, right? But I would also say in that scenario, when you were asking, like, who is it? I don't necessarily know that it's 100% it would be me. Like, if I'm thinking about my situation with my friend, like, I think there's some work perhaps because I feel like all people are mirrors and reflections of
Sure.
things that we have
Yep.
going on in ourselves. So I think that there's some work for her to do there too. But then also, like, there's a lot of work that I need to do. Right. So
Yeah.
when she called me out, I was just like, oh shit, like, this is a Sunday morning. How much time do you got? Like, right. Like, here we go. Like, you just open up the can of worms. But I would just say that it's all a reflection. And I think that there's certain people that can take that conversation and say, hey, here's what I'm reflecting on from what you asked me, who I am as a person. What are you seeing for yourself in this relationship? So then being able to, like you said, go deeper with that friend and with that relationship to understand if we have something to be able to move forward with or not.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fascinating. I love so I have, sometimes the people that have been in our life the longest are like the hardest to actually go deep with because
Mm-hmm.
we kind of feel like we already know all the things, but we so don't
Mm-hmm.
know all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so
Yeah.
like I have a friend I've known since first grade, and we've had pockets of time where we haven't talked. Some of it
Mm-hmm.
was like when we were in, elementary school and junior high, and literally like got into a fight and just stopped talking. And then, circle back, ebb and flow for a while. But then, now that we're in our 50s, it's like we are tight and we don't necessarily, again, don't talk to each other every day, don't hang out all the
Yeah.
time. But when we do, like, we recognize we're both on our own journeys. We're both in our own space of our own healing in our own ways. And we remember our histories, and we'll talk about them with clarity and accuracy and like inquiry
Mm-hmm.
versus like making an assumptions. And then we'll ask each other, like, gosh, this is how I felt then. How did you see me then? And it's like so amazing to have that with her, to have her be able to dive and play in that arena with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a time where I wouldn't have thought that we would have ever even seen each other again, let alone be doing this kind of friendship now.
Right.
That's really cool. But it's interesting because I don't think there's very many people who, like, you really have to mindfully go in going, okay, well, that was then, and I'm a totally different, like, I've evolved since then. So I think we
Mm-hmm.
need to ask questions first and talk about maybe how we felt then, or how we showed up then, or what was happening then. And like we did at the beginning of this podcast, tell
Yeah.
me about how we met, and I'll tell you about how we met and what are
Right.
those versions. And we learned a lot. I feel like we just
We
took it to
did.
a deeper level again, which is cool. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing that I'm finding in this conversation too is that there's so much that we learn over time,
Yeah.
right? And there's a percentage of us that are willing and capable of going in to see ourselves and to have that awareness of self and to start to look and like start peeling the onion back, right? And there's a
Mhm.
percentage of people that just don't get it, right? And they're never going to be self-aware, and that's okay. And so I think the thing that I felt like, going back to this friend that had reached out to me, didn't necessarily know that she ever wanted to do any of the work, right?
Mm.
But even though she was giving me signs, but I wasn't quite sure in myself, because she would ask me about crystals, and she would ask me about like, oh, the Jill, like there's this really cool shop that's here in Georgia that I just found. Like, we should go check it out together. Like, so she's like knowing that I'm on this spiritual path, and I now looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, she's interested in doing some things for herself. And this was the opening that I had to be able to have that connection. But because I was so unsure of, well, is she wanting to and capable and willing to go through this, or is this just, you know, to appease? Because
Mm.
she's trying to appease me and be like, oh, I found something fun for you to do while you're here because it's Georgia and I know you're, sweating your ass off hot and you don't want to be here.
Ah,
Because we
the
always
comfort zone.
because we always go there in July and August, and it's just like it's 100 degrees. Why are we here?
Why would you not do that in January or February and escape this tundra?
Well, because Chris Stapleton doesn't play there in
Oh,
January and in
that's
February.
fair. That's fair. And honestly, I do like the winter. I said that as if I hate winter, and I don't. I'm not a winter hater.
Me either. I love
Um,
winter.
yeah, I love that we have all the seasons. I do wish fall was a little bit longer. I remember fall being longer, but I'm not
Agreed.
complaining. I love the seasons.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I want to make it clear that, like, I don't believe either one of us is like judging people who aren't who don't
No.
choose to find themselves
No.
in that way. I don't think everyone's supposed to,
Correct.
and I don't think there's a right or wrong there. Like, I don't think one's
Correct.
better than the other. I know
No.
for me, the reason I chose that is because my life was to the point where everything about it maybe not everything, but it felt very miserable and challenging. And it just felt like
Mm-hmm.
everything was harder than it had to be. And I was tired of that.
Yeah.
Like, why, like now things get hard and challenging. And I'm not saying they're not harder than they have to be, because I definitely get myself in my own way, but it's different. It doesn't feel like it's actually holding me back. It feels like it's teaching me something because I'm willing to look. And for me, that was what
Mm-hmm.
I needed for myself. But
Yeah.
that's not what everyone needs, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
I think it's a beautiful thing when we can make our life less hard. How does that look for you? I don't know. I think it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing when we can make our life more joyful and heart-centered. Great.
Yes.
What does that look
Yes.
like for you? It's not the same as it looks for me and or as it looks for you, you know?
Yep. I would agree with that. And I think when you were talking about how you started this path. Like for me, I was just following breadcrumbs. Like literally
Mm.
just following breadcrumbs, saying yes to things that I was just like, "Oh, okay, that sounds interesting and intriguing. Let's do it." Yes, 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 yes.
I'm literally seeing your spirit guides drop breadcrumbs on trails in front of you. Going, oh, she likes these.
Literally.
These. Let's do more of that.
Yeah, I got into life coaching because a former mentor of mine started her certification. She was looking for clients and took a conversation with her. And within two conversations with her of coaching, we moved away from Chicago back home within 6 weeks.
Mm.
So it was just a life-changing event. And then a girlfriend of mine took me to get a tarot card reading while we lived in Chicago. And I was just like, holy shit. Like just the
Yeah.
magic that unfolded in that tarot card reading, I've been addicted ever since.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly just like chasing the breadcrumbs of, okay, how can I get deeper into my spirituality? What are the tools that I can use to know that I'm on the right path on my map? Like I think of my life as a map, right? And try to like, how do I get out of the ditch? If how do I get around the detour? How do I like, okay, if I off the cliff, like how do I get myself back up, right? So I feel like all of those breadcrumbs have led me to you, and then now to here where I am.
I love that so much. Tarot was the same thing for me. And I came into this world, my spirituality, like I resisted it. I was very skeptical. I was very much afraid. I wasn't really sure how I felt about any of that stuff. And the first time I had a tarot reading, it was with my teacher who I already had built a lot of trust with. So
Mm-hmm.
she was like, I'm going to do tarot readings. This was in Thailand. She's like, I'm
Mm,
going to do tarot readings in my room. Who wants to go? And me and another girl went, and I asked a question, and literally the things she said, I was like, there's no way that you could know that. Like, you cannot make this shit up. This is like a major aha moment for me. Clearly, I have some angels up there doing something for and with
mm-hmm.
me. I have to at least look at this now. I can't keep resisting this. I can't keep,
Yeah.
but like for me, that was like this total like 180. And I was like, huh. And then you start paying attention, and I was like, oh, I also had spirit guides leaving breadcrumbs or, guiding me. Like they keep dropping stuff in front of you. You're like, why do I keep seeing this thing about
Mm-hmm.
Reiki? Why do I keep seeing this thing about Reiki? Why do I keep seeing this thing about Reiki? If you'd have told me then that that I'd be teaching it, and eventually I really feel like I'm going to be teaching people to teach it soonish, because I have students that are ready. And I was like, there's just no way. I would have been like, yeah, I don't even know what Reiki is. And I don't feel energy, which was a total lie I was telling myself, because I feel all the things. I just didn't know that it wasn't mine. So
Mm-hmm.
it's such a fascinating journey. I love it.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, even though there's, certain, like we talked about, those sticky times of when you're in the muck, the muckety muck of some real deep healing, of like you said, getting out of your own way and shifting those beliefs and patterns into something that is higher vibration for you rather than staying in that low vibe. I think that's the piece that continues to be a challenge.
Yeah. And I think what's cool about that is it looks different for everyone. Like
Mm-hmm.
it really does look different for everyone. And
Mm-hmm.
also, if you look at it, I'm not even sure which one is like zoomed in and which one is zoomed out, but if you really look at it, they're not all that different.
Right.
They're not like our struggles and our challenges. They're very different. They look very
Mm-hmm.
different from person to person. But when you get into the core of like how it feels inside, I feel like that's all like, I don't know, there's kind of only so many emotions and pains and, ways things can show up in our human selves, that
Right.
there's a connection there. I don't know. I like to lean into it when
Yeah.
people are willing and wanting like to lean
Hmm.
into it, I'm all in for that.
Yep. I would
Um,
100% agree.
and I think forcing that in any way, shape, or form doesn't do anybody any good. And so I just
Yeah.
think it's a beautiful thing when I get to meet people like you who, I have been divinely guided to connect. And then it's not just the one way, which is what I find beautiful. It's like it started
Hmm.
somewhere and then we're still evolving. I
Yeah.
don't know where we're going exactly, but I know I'm having
Right.
fun along the way and I trust you and you're safe people and that's important for me.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing and I'm really grateful. So I'm here saying thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thanks. Thanks for taking my Reiki session so many years ago.
It's funny. I was about to say you just never know where they're going to go or how it's going to change your life or where it's going to take you. And I say your life, I
Hmm.
mean collectively. But
Yeah.
I do know that it always changes something. Like it's
Hmm.
just it's an amazing and incredible thing. It's such an honor to have that be part of my practice. And I don't know, somewhere along the way, living traditions were my jam.
Yeah.
Like they just kept dropping in front of me, and I'm like, gosh, I really resonate with this. Wow, I really resonate with this. And it's like, yeah, you resonate because it was put in front of you by your spiritual team up there
Yeah.
doing their things,
Yeah.
or right here doing their things. I mean, earth angels are real in my world,
Agreed.
you know,
Agreed.
where you're just like, huh, I feel like that was something unique.
Hmm.
And I'm just gonna
Hmm.
say thank you to the universe and source and stars
Yeah.
and heavens and all of it, earths, all of it. It's so good.
Yeah. So good.
Is there anything else you feel like you want to share today? This feels like a good, like, I don't know, I feel like we're landing in a warm fuzzy here.
I feel like it too. Like I feel like, oh, like I haven't had a smile on my face this big for the last couple of days. So thank you. This
Thank
feels
you.
fantastic. It's exactly what I needed.
Me too. I feel like that intention was legit. Like, thank you, spirit guides, for giving me that one because
It
it feels, and you're right, we did amplify it. At
we
least that's
did.
how I feel.
And I feel like since I reached out to you last week, like I feel like there's just been all of these yeses, like yes, 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 yes. Like it's been like 7 days of Michelle yeses. So, like yesterday you
Yeah.
called me about Reiki and I'm like, yes, let's do it. Hey, do you want to be on my podcast? Yes, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, you reaching out to me was so like right away. I was like, oh, this is divinely timed and guided without a doubt because I had just gotten a phone call asking about the exact same thing that you reached out about. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm listening. Thank you. I'm like, if it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It's like all I know is it's divinely guided and it will go. If I just get out of the way, again, if I just get out of the way, it's
Right.
gonna go where it's meant to be, and we get to land wherever that is. And I'm good with that. I used to need so much known and control. And I feel like once I unlocked the known, we're going off on another tangent. But once I unlocked like the needing the known, the unknown is so beautiful to
Hmm.
explore. And there's so much like freedom there. Like there's less like I think of the Untethered Soul book by Michael Singer. It's like
Yes.
you're not tethered to all the things when you can just sort of allow, like trust yourself to show up in the unknown and just navigate it with all of your tools and resources that we can't forget about,
Hmm.
right? That we get
Hmm.
to lean into. And tools and resources aren't always things, right? They're people and those kind of resources. So I don't know, this was amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation. Do you have like a last sort of like golden nugget if somebody decides they like maybe they're not on this journey yet and maybe they're thinking, gosh, maybe I'm okay with getting messy, maybe I want to dance a little bit, what would you say to someone at the beginning or
Hmm.
honestly on the journey at all, but like at the beginning is what's coming in for me, so I feel like let's talk at the very beginning. Where do you go? What do you say?
I loved there's so many things that I loved about this conversation, but I think one of the things that sparked a big moment for me was the soul care toolkit.
Hmm.
And I envision having like this little mason jar of little slips of paper that say a walk in nature, journal,
Yes, that's
a br
it.
breathe for 5 minutes, right? Like I feel like that jar needs to be sitting on everyone's table to just be like, ugh, how am I feeling right now? Ugh, all right. I need to dig into my soul care toolkit. I
Yeah,
need to
and here's
do
a key for
something to
that.
shift. Yeah.
Don't create that kit when you're in a funk, when you're in the
God, no.
stuck and in the suck. Create that cute toolkit when you're having a great day and you're like, what does feel like, why do I feel so joyful right now? What is it? What are the things that
Mhm.
are, and like to the point, like specific songs, don't just say music. Like when you're in a funk, you need a
Yeah.
specific song, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
specific people too. Like I'm in a funk and I just need someone to listen. That's this human. I'm in a funk and I need someone to solve a
Yeah.
that's this human. I'm in a funk and I need someone that'll primal scream with me. Well, that's this human over here. Like they're all different.
Right. I need a scream buddy.
Yeah. Who wants to go
Oh,
to kickboxing?
yeah.
Move some
That's
stuff.
fantastic. I love that.
Oh, that's great. Oh, thank you so much. All right. I feel like that's a wrap for today. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thank you.
All right. That's a
Filled with
wrap
a
for
joyful
today.
heart.
Me too. Thank you. I feel like we're crystal quartz for each other. Just like amplify the crap out of us
Uh-huh.
in a
Yeah.
good way, at least for us. I don't know how the listeners feel, but for me, it feels great.
Feels good.
I feel like a lightning bolt
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in a good
Agreed.
way. Yeah, yeah. All right, that's it. Bye. Be you every day. Oh, wait, no, wait, one more thing. How do they
What?
find you? We need to know how to find you.
Oh, sure. You can find me at jilldahler.com.
Oh, Taylor, I even said your last name wrong.
Everybody does.
Oh gosh, girl. It's one of
It's all
those
right.
days. Okay, JILLDAHLER.com.
Yes, that's it.
That's the best way. Okay, beautiful.
That's the
And
best
you can
way.
find us on social media too, whether it be hypothetically intentional or JID, JAIDEE, or Michelle Albers, two A's. It's all in the note credits. All right. Bye. Be you every day.